Here I've used nothing but circles and squares, well, and rectangles. And there's quite a bit going on here, actually. There's lots of rectangles, there's quite a few circles, and it creates this building with some bushes and a street and a moon. So how do we do that? Let's look at some of these and break them down. And the different things that we're going to break down include the road, the moon, the bushes, and the skyscraper. We're going to go sort of in that order, so least complex to most complex. So the road itself is actually just 3 different rectangles. If we go back and look at it, we've got a green rectangle, a light blue rectangle, and this sort of black to light blue rectangle here. Now I'm using gradients on all of these, and we haven't gone over gradients yet, but we will. So right now, yours would look a little different. You would just be able to do it with solid colors, but we'll get to this. So that should be relatively simple to do, right? You're just making those 3 rectangles and you're putting one on top of another. So if I go back to the file that we did previously and open it, basically what you would do is you would have this rect element here, set an X, set a Y, set width and height. So width is going to be pretty large, maybe it's like 500 or so. Height isn't very tall for that first one. This is 100 by 100, and we actually don't want that. We don't want it to be away from the edge, right? So the street goes all the way across the picture, so 0, and this is maybe like 400 down. Now I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see this because I'm not sure if that actually takes it off the page. I think it does. So if we open this with Safari, yeah, we can't see it. If we make our SVG width by 500, since that's how wide we made the road, and we can make the height to be, I guess, 500 as well. Let's save it. And now if we refresh this, now we can see the grass in there, but we need it to be green, right? So let's add in a fill. Fill equals green. And we'll talk about gradients, and we'll talk about more customization of these colors soon. Now we have green, obviously the wrong shade, but it's fine. We can add in another one. So if this was 20, then we can just add that to here. And actually that looks a little bit taller than I wanted. I don't quite want it to be that tall. Let's do 410. And we can see what happens when you put one on top of the other, right? Gray, do we have gray? If we refresh, we do have gray. So now we can do the streets. I guess I'll use black for the streets. And this will start at 440 because that's the 410 plus the 30 here. And we want this to be quite a bit bigger, so maybe like 60. And we can refresh. And there we go. We're actually getting off the page a little bit, so I'll shrink this down, Command minus to zoom out, just so we can see the whole thing. Not great, but it's a start. And we can go from there and make it prettier with upcoming videos. So what about the moon? If I do sort of that X-ray thing I did with the street where I take out the fill, this is actually what the moon looks like. It is 2 circles, one and then the other. This circle here is actually the same color as the background. That's how I made that crescent shape. So if I go back to here and I move the moon to where it's crossing over 2 colors, like here, you can see, you can actually pretty easily see sort of where the edge of that circle goes, right? So just a little bit of a trick. And you can actually tell here too, this moon is outlined on the outer edge, but not on the inner edge, because I didn't put an outline on this inner circle. Doing so would have put an outline through the middle of the sky here. So if we want to add a moon in here, we can do circle and CX equals, I don't know, how far away do we want that to be? Maybe 200, and maybe CY is 100 away from the top. And what do we want the radius to be? I'm going to go with 35, and the fill can be yellow. Close the tag, Command S, Command R, there we go. Now we have a circle, but we need to actually cut out the next part. Now I'm not really into the sky being white if this is sort of a moon, right? It should be like a night scene. So how do we make the background a different color. You can't actually set the background in the SVG tag like you can the width and the height. You basically just send a rectangle to the back. So if this is 500 by 500, then we just add a rectangle down here, right? Let's see what happens. So we know this needs to be 0 by 0 to start at the top left, and we need it to be 500 by 500, and I think I want it to be blue. So let's save it and refresh and see what happens. Alright, so there was a problem. So why is the whole thing blue? Where's the rest? Why did it delete my stuff? And the thing is, it didn't actually delete anything. Everything else is still there, it's just behind it. The way that SVG is loaded is the same way it's read. It's read from top to bottom. So it loaded all the rest, and then it loaded this last, and it happens to be on top because it loaded last. So if we go in and we inspect elements, we still have everything else in here. See, there's the circle way down there. If I scroll down, there's the different parts of the road, and then here this is on top of everything. So if I just grab this and I cut and paste, and I can save it again. There we go. Now we have my road back, and my sidewalk, and the grass, and the moon that isn't a crescent yet. So to make it a crescent, we need to add another circle. And this one will have a blue fill, so it matches the sky. And we need to move it over a little bit and up a little bit, right? So the center of it on the original was here-ish. The center on this is there-ish. So it's this way and that way. So let's make CX maybe be to the right. That means I need to add on to it. So maybe 220. And it needs to go up a little bit. So that means this number should drop. So maybe this is like 80. And it needs to be a little bit smaller. So maybe like 20. So we can save it. We can reload and see what happens. Not quite the size that I want. The position's a little off too, but it's getting there. So maybe this is 85. And let's try this to be 25. And I'll save and refresh. Closer. Maybe this should be 88. And 30. And I think I want this to drop a little bit. Maybe 15. And refresh. That's actually a little bigger than I wanted. We'll drop this down to 28. I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. So the next thing that I'm going to show you are the bushes. So here are the bushes. I would actually draw the building first and the bushes second since they're overlapping. But I'm talking about the bushes first anyway because they are much simpler. So this is basically what the bushes look like. I didn't do like the no fill on everything because then you had all of these circles and it was a little confusing. The red flowers, I suppose, or fruits or berries, whatever you want to call them, are just 3 little red circles on top. All the green of the bushes are these circles here. So they were comprised of 5 different overlapping green circles. So that's what these are. Let's look at the building. So here is the skyscraper. It is basically a giant rectangle with lots of rectangles on top. A few thin rectangles at the top as sort of a roof, a nice border, little one at the bottom, one just above the doorway, and then I have sort of these like round light things that have more rectangles. So this is just a bunch of rectangles with a few circles. And so to do that, I would just need to draw more rectangles. So let's make a new rect element. So X should be, let's see, so where is the moon? The moon is 200 away, and that's there. So probably another 100, maybe 150. So maybe this is 350. And Y, how tall do I want it to be? I think I want it to be a little taller than the moon. So the moon starts at 100, and the radius is 35. So maybe the Y should be 50. And let's make the width be, let's see, so if the moon is 35, so since the radius is 35, then the diameter would be 70. I think I want it a little bit bigger, maybe 150. And the height needs to be pretty tall. Let's see, so it's 50 down. And where does the street start? The street starts at 440. I don't want it to be all the way at the street. I want it to be just a little above that. So if we do 440 minus 50, that's 390. So I think 380 is what I want. We'll try it out and see what happens. And I want the fill to be... Ooh, I was going to use gray, but the sidewalk is gray. If I could use variations, that would be great. Let's make the building... Let's just make the building white for now, and we can make it a different color later. Just so you can see where it's landing. So then we close the tag, and we save it, and we refresh. Ooh, too far over. What did I do with that? X is 350. Okay. So let's make this 270. And refresh. There we go. That's about where I want it. I want it to be a little bit wider, though. So maybe we add on 180 and save and load. A little bit bigger. Maybe let's try 200. There we go. That's about what I want. And now I can just keep adding more and more stuff. So the little border at the top, this could be gray. I want it to start just a little to the left of it. So let's make this like 268. It needs to be a little bit wider than it. Oops, 268. So plus 2 from here to end right there would be 202. But I want it to go a little bit further on this end too, so that should be 204. And I don't want it to be very big, maybe 10. So if I save it and I reload it, that's alright. I also want one down here-ish. So I'm just gonna take a guess at where that should be. I'm gonna guess that should be at like 410. So save. Ooh, my mistake. We changed the Y coordinates. 410, save, reload. Oh, way too far down. 360. Save, reload. That's about right. Now let's make a few windows. I'm going to go ahead and copy this rectangle here because it's close to where I want. I'm going to do the top windows here. But I want it to be down a little bit further. So this was Y50 right here. And the height was 10, so that's 60. So I think I want it down one more than that. So 70, I think. I don't want it to start here. I need to start in a little bit. So this is 270, maybe a gap of like 4, so 274. And then the width, maybe, I don't know, 15 and 20. And do I want gray? Do I want blue? Let's do blue. And we can reload. There we go. There's a window. Not quite the size I want. I want it to be a bit bigger, so maybe 20 by 30, and we can save and reload. That's closer. I want a little bit of a bigger gap here, so maybe 278. There we go. I think that's okay. And I can make another. So if this is starting at 278 plus 20, then this needs to be at least 298, but I want a little bit of a gap, so maybe this is 300. And I can save and refresh. There we go. And I can copy and paste another. So 300 plus 20, 320, plus I need to add 2 again like I did before, so there's a little bit of a gap, so 322. And I can refresh. And I can just keep doing this all the way over. So this would become 344. Refresh. This would become 366. Command S, Command R, and so on. And that's basically what you're doing. You just keep building your graphic bit by bit with different shapes. I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole thing, but hopefully you're getting the idea.